Hi, I'm Dr. Don Douillard, and welcome back to our lymph training program where we're learning the dangers of lymphatic congestion, how to detox and cleanse and reboot your lymphatic system, and how important that is. Now, in video 1, we talked about how the lymph starts in your intestinal tract and how the lymph lines your entire intestinal tract from top to bottom. And I call it the most important half-inch in your body because you have miles of this, and if that's not quite right, we are going to be in big trouble. And that was video 1. You can go back and watch that again and get a refresher on that. Video 2, we talked about how when the intestinal skin barrier breaks down and undigested food and proteins get into the through the intestinal skin into the collecting ducts of your lymphatic system, they start to create problems. The fats and proteins can push their way into the fat around your belly, congest the lymph around your belly, cause joint pain, tiredness, fatigue, lethargy, and a host of concerns. Skin rashes, tiredness, achiness, allergies, headaches, brain fog, a host of concerns that are all lymph related. And think about, remember, the lymph is your drainage system. So if your drains are clogged, you're going to feel like you just haven't taken the trash out, where the body just can't move its waste out. If it can't move its waste out well, it's not going to get the good stuff in because we can't get the bad stuff out. And then in the third video, I talk about something that's really important, which is the brain lymphatics. And new research at the University of Virginia about 8 years ago showed that we dump about 3 pounds of chemicals and plaque out of our brain every year while we sleep at night through these microscopic brain and central nervous system lymphs, and how critically important those are. If you don't sleep well, you're not going to drain well. And if you don't have good lymphatic drainage, you also won't sleep well either. So it's really important to understand that first of all, before 8 years ago, anybody who said there were lymphs in the brain was completely a quack and crazy. And now, of course, they know that there are lymphs in the brain. They line the top of your head like the Mohawk haircut, and right up the back of your head, like along the sagittal sinus and transverse sinuses. They drain 3 pounds of chemicals while you sleep at night. And when they're congested, they're linked to anxiety, depression, cognitive decline, autoimmunity, infection, inflammation, a host of sort of really important understandings. And I want to sort of give you a kind of a wrap up of put all this together for you here as we review what you've learned in this course. In video 3, and I talk about the brain lymphatics, I also want to remind you of the article that I wrote that we gave you a link to called Shira Abhyanganasya, S-A-N, Sinus Cleansing and Emotional Baggage, which is a technique, an Ayurvedic Nasya technique that cleans these brain lymphatics, something Ayurveda used to help release the brain of old mental, emotional trauma, cognitive decline, brain fog, things like that. Powerful, powerful technique, something I used for 26 years in my practice when I was administering Panchakarma, and boy, I couldn't, and what Ayurvedic Panchakarma to me clearly became, and I think always was intended to be, was a transformational experience to release you from old mental, emotional patterns of behavior, so you're free from doing the same dumb thing again and again and again and again. So when we talk about the lymphatic system, we're really talking about how the body, mind, and emotions are very intimately woven together, and how critically important it is to understand that and then scrub that. And this technique, the Shira Abhyanganasya, S-A-N, just type it into we gave you a link, but type it into my website search bar at LifeSpa.com and you'll get that article. And I give you a specific detailed protocol, video and article of how to actually do this technique at home to clean out those brain lymphs. So please don't forget about that and how important it is. Okay, so let's just do a little bit of a review and see if I can't kind of tie all this together for you. I think, kind of bring it all down to 3 basic things your lymphatic system is doing. Number 1, your lymphatic system is trying to deliver properly digested fats, triglyceride fats, into every cell of your body for baseline energy. For some reason, if you don't break down your fats good, you eat a greasy fried food meal and you get indigestion, it just sits there you're probably not delivering all the fats that you should. And if those fats are not being broken down properly, they're going to be too big to get into your blood and feed you. They're going to find their way into the lymph too big, and they're going to clog up the lymphatic system and create lymph congestion. The same exact thing happens with proteins like wheat and dairy, which are harder to digest proteins. Now, all this hoopla about don't eat grains or nuts or seeds or beans or anything with a lectin, an anti-nutrient on it that protects the bean, therefore somehow poisonous for us, and we should therefore avoid them. Then if you don't have good digestion, it's true, you won't break them down. They will go undigested into your intestinal tract. They will be too big to get into your blood, and they'll go into the garbage can, which is in fact your lymphatic system. So the second thing your lymphatic system is trying to do for you is, number one, deliver fats as baseline energy for your body. Number two, get rid of undigested proteins and fats, which are always going to happen in a small amount. But if your digestive system has been broken down, and I direct you to all the articles that I've written about how to reboot your digestive system, even my Eat Wheat book is all about a troubleshooting guide to figure out where my digestive system might have broken down. So I know, is it my fat or my protein that I'm not breaking down? But something, probably fats or proteins, and when I say fats, I mean environmental pollutants, mercury from the coal mine plumes, they're all fat. And if they're not being broken down and processed upstream in your stomach, your liver, gallbladder, pancreas, duodenal enzymes, if that coordination isn't there for you, then you're going to let those proteins and fats go undigested there, and they're going to end up in your lymphatic system and clog your lymphatic system, create real problems. And the third thing your lymphatic system is trying to do is carry your immune system. And if your immune system is stuck in traffic because of all these undigested foods, then you end up in a situation where your lymph gets congested, your immune system is stuck in traffic, can't send the fire trucks to the fire on Broadway, your ability to deliver fats as energy become compromised, so you're tired and you have brain fog and you don't have the energy that you once had, and of course your ability to detoxify becomes compromised because the lymph is the garbage can to take the waste away, and you get intercellular congestion. We can build up and create swelling and bloating and extra weight around your belly, cellulite, poor circulation, skin rashes, complexion issues, build up in your joints, your skin, and your sinuses, a host of concerns. And the problem is, and this is important, you have two major kind of lymphatic systems. You have the big ones when you exercise, all the lymph in your muscles move, and you pump those big lymphs every day. And that's why movement is so critically important, because of the pumping action that muscle contractions have on your lymphatic system. Now, if you don't move, you don't pump your lymph, your muscles, you end up with storing a lot of this toxicity in your muscles and joints, and it becomes more problematic. But those are the big lymphs, and sort of was given that we'd be moving, right? No one thought we would sit around and watch computers all day long. So that was the understanding when this whole thing was designed, that we'd move, right? Well, that maybe didn't happen. So you got to do that. And now we'll get the really big lymphs. But now we have newly discovered microscopic lymphs in your brain and central nervous system that drain 3 pounds of chemicals and plaque every year while you sleep. So let's say you have weak digestion, you're not breaking down the proteins as well, your liver is congested because of all the processed food and the bad oils that are in foods for preservatives that we talked about, and they end up clogging up your intestinal tract, clogging up your lymph, and now the lymph system is congested. You can't deliver the fats, you can't get rid of the proteins, and then the lymph in your brain is trying to drain into those bigger lymphs, and if they're congested because you don't move and you're toxic, there's going to be no place for it to go, so it builds up in your brain and central nervous system. So now the master computer, right? The master computer is congested. It can't get the waste in, can't get the waste out or the nutrition in the way it should. So it starts to not have the awareness and the feedback of sort of how many fire trucks to send to the fire on Broadway. Do I send one? I don't know. I haven't heard from them. I get these weird mixed messages, so maybe they send 100 fire trucks instead of one, and that's what's called an overzealous immune reaction. So what's interesting about that is that Western science doesn't really have an explanation or a mechanism for understanding autoimmune conditions. We just say the immune system's on overdrive and we need to dial it down. or shut down the immune system, which is, sort of something you kind of really don't want to do is kind of curtail or dial down your immune response. But that's the logical thinking. Well, in the scientific journals, in my ebook that we have on the lymphatic system, we talk about the science, hundreds of studies that I cite that shows that there is a mechanism for autoimmunity. And that when the brain lymphatics get congested, the master computer doesn't know how many fire trucks to send. It sends, instead of 1, it sends 100. That's an overzealous immune reaction. And so that we have an understanding of poor digestion, creating undigested food that clogs up your lymphs, that make your joints, your muscles, your body stiff, achy, tired, lethargic, allergic, and then brain fog because your brain lymphs get congested. All can happen from wheat, right? Wheat doesn't get digested. It causes skin rashes. That's skin-associated lymphatic tissue congestion, brain fog, brain lymph congestion, joint achiness, the joints can't drain. All the symptoms you get from these foods that you don't tolerate are because they weren't broken down properly, and they're ending up finding their way into the lymphatic system, wreaking havoc, creating symptoms that we don't really like. And we quickly blame the food as opposed to fixing the problem. Part of the problem is digestion. The other problem is your lymphatic system. And in this course, we're talking about how do we decongest your lymph, but always keep your eye on the ball and make sure we're always looking to troubleshoot the digestive system as well, because that's really important. They work together. The digestive strength and the lymph work together to make this whole thing happen. That makes sense? So it is really important to understand that. And of course, the nausea, sniffing of the medicated oils we talk about through the nose, they found and they discovered that the brain lymphatics drain into 2 places, your lymphs in your throat and the lymphs in your nose. So thousands of years ago, they were like, wow, what if we sniff a little bit of oil up our nose, activate those lymphs in the sinuses that drain in the nose, that drain those same sagittal sinus lymphs that drain 3 pounds of chemicals and plaque every year while you sleep. What would happen if we did that? And that's been a technique in Ayurveda for thousands upon thousands of years. And now we have some pretty amazing science to match that, which I think is pretty fascinating. So here again, we bump up against this beautiful ancient wisdom and very recent modern science to let us even know that these lymphs even existed in the brain, which was well understood thousands of years ago. So really beautiful information. So there you have it. The lymph is delivering triglyceride fats as energy to every cell of your body. If you don't have the energy, chronic fatigue, you're probably not delivering those fats, and that's got to change. And that, secondly, it's you're carrying your immune system, which cannot be stuck in traffic. And thirdly, it is the garbage can. It is taking all the yuck out of your intestinal tract and scrubbing it with little lymph nodes, which have lots of white blood cells to clean and scrub and repair. Okay, so that's the story. And I want to thank you all very much for joining me for this lymph course. And of course, one of the things that I'd like to offer you and gift you is a kit for helping to decongest your lymphatic system. And for watching this course, we're giving you like a whopping discount for this lymphatic kit. The lymphatic kit includes 5 herbs, one of our classic herbs, Mangista, Brahmi Brain, Neem, Lymph Cleanse, and Lymph Vein HP, plus a bottle of our lymphatic massage oil, all for a 20% discount off the retail price. So it's a whopping savings. And before I go into the details of the offer that we're going to give you, I want to kind of describe what is in this kit and how these herbs work. So the lymph oil, let's start with that. Such an important thing to do a regular daily abhyanga. On your skin, there is a microbiome, and those bugs eat oil. That's what they eat. Putting oil on your skin has been around for thousands of years, and now we know that was really a good idea because there's bugs on your skin that eat that oil. And then in Ayurvedic medicine, they said, what if we put herbs into the oil and impregnate the oil with these herbs? It actually allows the oil to be more penetrating, and scientists back that up, and create more of a hydrating, moisturizing effect for the skin. And since the lymph right underneath your skin, called the skin-associated lymph, is right there, when you put oil on your skin, you actually have this powerful effect. In the article that I talked about, the Shira Abhyanga Nausea, Sinus Cleansing and Emotional Baggage article, There's another article you can type in called, just type in, we'll give you the link, but head massage marma. And the science shows that when you vigorously massage your head, which is part of the Nasya technique anyway, but you can do that in the shower by yourself every day anyway, and just massage your head vigorously. It's been shown to increase the flow of the brain lymphatics, right? Which is just crazy science, something as simple as a vigorous head massage. And if you ever got a haircut in India, I tell you, they rub your head so hard that your hair could even fall off. And I've had many haircuts in India. And it's just amazing that that's part of their tradition. So putting a little lymph massaging oil on your hands and just getting your fingers, if you have hair, in between, in your skull, and try to just think about getting your skull, your skin on your skull to be looser and sort of separate the skin from the bone of your skull and keep that moving, and do a vigorous head massage, ear massage, and even face massage. All that powerful for just supporting healthy brain lymphatic flow, which is a very, very important thing as well. Other things that are really valuable in that regard is the nasal breathing exercise. And I recently wrote another article I would love you to tune into called Mouth Taping While You Sleep. The research shows that when you breathe through your nose, that moves the brain lymphatics. And when you breathe through your nose while you sleep, you got 8 hours of solid movement of the cerebral spinal fluid, which is your brain lymphatic washing fluid, to clean that out. In the article about mouth taping that I'll link for you as well, just type in mouth taping while you sleep, and that'll pop up on my website as well. You also read about some Nobel Prize winning science on a molecule called the panacea molecule called nitric oxide, which is produced only when you breathe through your nose and not while you breathe through your mouth. So when I was in India studying about nose breathing versus mouth breathing for my first book, Body, Mind, and Sport, it was really interesting because I found all this science about parents teaching their kids how to be nose breathers, infantries that were nose breathers versus mouth breathers, and the nose breathers never got sick. And I found all this research on that. I was more interested in the exercise application and the sort of Donner Vade kind of, breathing in activity kind of a thing. But that research was there. And then in 1998, nitric oxide won the Nobel Prize. And they found that you produce it when you breathe through your nose, but you don't produce any when you breathe through your mouth. Think about that. So if you have your mouth open while you're snoring all night long, you're producing 0 nitric oxide. And if you breathe through your nose, the sinuses, which produce this nitric oxide, you suck the air, nitric oxide gas, into the lower lobes of your lungs, because that's what the nose does, drives it all the way down. And that's where 80% of the alveoli in blood is for exchange. And then instantly, all that nitric oxide is in your bloodstream doing the repair. And it's considered a panacea molecule. Now, scientists hate the word panacea. Nobel Prize winning science never uses the word panacea, but they did here. So, and if you can lie in bed and breathe through your nose while you sleep and get 8 solid hours of nitric oxide therapy, it's crazy. So read the article before you pass judgment. I'm putting tape over your mouth, and I tell you how to do that. You can put a headband on and close your jaw. There's many ways to make it happen, but training your body to be a nose breather while you sleep is valuable, okay? All of that supporting lymph, particularly in this case, the brain lymphatics, because your brain drains while you sleep, and your body drains while you move. Does that make sense? Okay, so that's why the lymph oil is so important. The other classic herb that I love is an herb called mangista. Mangista is the classic Ayurvedic lymphatic destagnating herb. There's another herb called lymph cleanse, which is a liquid, which is mostly a root called red root. And I think of lymph cleanse for the lymph nodes and mangista for the lymph vessels. Think train tracks and train stations. Train stations are where all the white blood cells do the scrubbing, and the red root or the lymph cleanse liquid is great to scrub the lymph nodes. And the mangista is for the train tracks to decongest the lymphs, the intercellular congestion that builds up when your lymph isn't moving. You get all this junk that builds up in between your cells, and you lose what's called cellular communication and cellular detox and cellular nutrition, which all of it is really important, right? This is why in Ayurveda, the very first system we treat is the lymph and evaluate the lymph. We want to make sure the good stuff's getting in, the bad stuff's getting out. The immune system can be carried into those deep tissues to make a dent, right? So those two herbs, Mangista and lymph cleanse, are critically important. Brahmi brain, which is Centella asiatica, classic herb for the brain, for mental clarity, for focus. New research shows that Brahmi brain actually is a microcirculation lymphatic mover. Powerful research on that. So now we know, oh, how did Brahmi brain make people think smarter and be more clear in their head and even sleep better all these years? What was because it was helping get the brain to drain more efficiently. So you can take the Brahmi in the morning, you take it before you go to bed, and support some brain lymphatic drainage, which is really important. And Brahmi, phenomenal for the skin. People put it, we have it in our skincare products. It's really great for the skin on the outside and also for the skin on the inside. And of course, where does your lymphatic system start? It starts on the skin that lines your intestinal tract, right? So really important. And then neem, so important, particularly in the spring and the summer and the fall, because neem is a leaf of a deciduous tree. And the neem leaf comes throughout the spring and the summer and the fall. Why? Because it's been shown to be a biofilm breaker, called the queen of the skin. The village pharmacy, I was like, how does this herb get the name village pharmacy? Because obviously what that means is you go to the pharmacy for a headache, for whatever you have, and they give you neem, because it does everything. It is the village pharmacy. And I was like, for years wondering, how does it get to be the village pharmacy? Like, what is it? What makes it so special? And the newest research shows that what it does is it breaks up biofilm in your intestinal tract. Biofilm like plaque in your teeth that keep the bacteria alive and well. And then when you have pockets of biofilm in your body, you end up with this sort of isolationism of bacteria that can brew colonies that can wreak havoc on your body. And what you really want is to break up the biofilm so you don't have sort of nationalism in your gut. You want globalism, everybody to work together as one big unit, as opposed to individual colonies of bugs that fight against each other and try to gain an edge on the amount of real estate that they can live in. That's sort of what goes on in the bug world. So biofilm breakers are the natural thing in Ayurveda to do to help break up the biofilm so you don't have pockets of bad bacteria, building up in your gut. So the biofilm breaker scrubs, and that's why they call it the queen of the skin, because it works, of course, on the outer skin, which is sort of well known. But really what I like to think of it for is the inner skin, because if your inner skin is happy, this is going to be happy. No doubt about it. You can't have good outside skin when you got yucky internal skin. Just not going to work if you have irritation on the inside. So neem is part of the lymph kit as well because of its biofilm breaking ability and support for the skin. And of course, the inner skin is where the lymph system starts. And then the lymph vein HP comes from the white pith of oranges. When I was in India, I remember scraping the white pith of mangoes and oranges and pomegranates and making powders out of them that we use for different lymphatic, circulatory, congestive, heart-related issues. It turns out now that one of those chemicals is called diosmin and hesperidin. Both of those are shown to be powerful microcirculation lymphatic movers for things like cellulite, for things like microcirculation, for hemorrhoid support. The research is just off the charts. If you want to read some crazy articles, just type in lymph vein HP on my store and read the science behind and some of the articles that I've written about hemorrhoids and what this product can do. There's so much science on this particular product. It's quite phenomenal. So we have herbs for the big lymphs, for the microscopic lymphs, for the brain lymphs, to kind of get that whole lymphatic system moving. And you do this lymph kit for a month, and that's a really great scrub for all the lymphs. And then of course always be thinking about troubleshooting, the upstream weak link cause of the concern, whether it be digestion or an area of the lymph that might be more of a concern. But here you have sort of a little review of what each of these herbs do, and then you can kind of figure out which one really works the best for you for your particular lymphatic concern. So anyway, you get all those 5 products. You get the Mangista, Brahmi brain, neem, lymph vein, lymph cleanse, and the lymph oil. You get all of that for 20% off the retail price. The code that you would use to get that discount is called Lymph 2019. Definitely remember the code. It's Lymph, LYMPH 2019. So you just type that in to get that discount, and you get a whopping 20% off, which is a huge savings off of this particular lymph kit. So if you look at the retail price of this kit, it's $116 and change. When you take the 20% off, you get the entire lymph kit with 5 herbs and 1 lymph oil for $92 and change, over a $23 savings. So it's a great deal. Remember, the code, the coupon code that you need to get that discount is Lymph 2019. Thank you all for listening. I hope you enjoyed this lymph course. I hope you've learned something. Oh, and I should also say, in addition to buying the kit that we have, the lymph kit, you also get my ebook on the lymphatic system. My lymphatic ebook has over 100 scientific references to give you details about what's really happening in the scientific community with regard to lymph. And that's sort of the interesting part, is there's volumes of research on the lymph in the research journals that might take 10, 20 years to reach medical practice, if ever. So what we do here at LifeSpa.com is we take ancient medical wisdom, we find the science to back it up, and then we bring it to you. And it might take decades before that actually reaches medical practice, if ever. And I gotta tell you, in Ayurveda, lymph is the #1 thing we look and evaluate and treat. And there is just unbelievable amount of science in the lymph system that nobody knows about and nobody talks about. And I try to bring that to you the best I can. That's all available in this lymph ebook that we have for you as well as part of this kit. And there's also an audio course that I put together as well that you get as part of the kit as well. So you get the 5 herbs, the lymphatic oil, the lymph ebook, and the audio training, or the audio lecture that I gave on the lymphatic system as well. So I hope you enjoy that. Thank you for joining us. Remember, you can get the lymph kit with the ebook and the audio training using the coupon code Lymph 2009. It's a 20% savings, retail price over $116, and your price a $23 savings of just $92 and change. So check that out, coupon code 2019, Lymph 2019. Thanks for joining me, and we'll see you next time. I'm Dr. John Douillard. Do you like this video? Don't forget to subscribe and share.
This recording is brought to you by LifeSpa, where ancient Ayurvedic wisdom meets modern science. Get access to free health video newsletters by Dr. John at LifeSpa.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.